All right, after creating a new file, this is similar to what you should see. Now, this entire area is called the workspace. This is where you have your collections of panels, tools, and your canvas, as well as some options and application bars and things. And this entire arrangement is called your workspace. Now, there are different workspaces depending on what you might be creating in Photoshop because people use this in a lot of different ways. So there's an icon in the very top right corner that has some different kind of pre-organized workspaces, again, depending on some of the most common uses for Photoshop. Looks like mine's getting overwhelmed. I've got the spinning wheel of death or spinning wheel of doom, people call this, on a Mac. So we'll give it a second. Oh, there we go. But you can see that each time I change the workspace, this arrangement and what panels and options are visible changes slightly. We're going to try and just use essentials. So that first option, that's a pretty good basic layout where about everything we need is pretty easy to see. But if you realize that you accidentally, get rid of some things that you wanted and stuff starts to look disorganized, maybe you accidentally get rid of your tools and you're just kind of lost, like, oh my gosh, where did things go? Just remember, you can always come up to this little icon over here in the top right and do Reset Essentials. And what that's going to do is put everything back to that default arrangement. You can also access that by going to Window Workspace, and there you'll also see the Reset Essentials option. Now, the Learn tab is actually pretty helpful if you're just starting out. I recommend exploring this, if you have some time and you're interested. I'm just going to collapse it though because it does take up kind of a lot of our space. So I'm actually going to pull these guys out and just close out of them so that we've got a little more room over here. And you can see that you can change the width and size of your panels as well. So this is all meant to be really customizable, um, based on how you like to work. So I'm going to try and give us a fair amount of space. I'm also going to zoom in a little bit on what is called my canvas. So the white area, just like if you had a piece of paper or an actual canvas you were painting on, this is a digital version of that. So I'm going to do, for me, it's Command plus, but if you're on a PC, it might be Control plus. I realize that got like a little too big though. Just know that there's also a tool over here, the zoom tool, that looks like a magnifying glass, and the shortcut is Z, and that might let you get a little more control of how zoomed in you are. I'm clicking and dragging, and that's what allows me to get closer or farther away from my canvas. All right, so now that we've kind of been briefly introduced to the workspace, I want to break it down for you a little bit more to know, so you know what the different parts of the workspace are. So up at the very top where you'll see things like file, edit, image, all those options, we're going to use that a lot. And it'll look slightly different whether you're on a Mac or PC, but either way you should have this, and that's called the applications bar. So all these things up here are in what is called the applications bar. The next area right below that, I'm just going to pick a random tool. You can see some options just popped up. This is called the options bar because this is where we get to change some options for our tools. So just know that, depending on the tool you pick, those options will change, but those options will generally always be right here at the top. So the next thing to look at is the document window. So that is all this empty space between the tools and the panels. It's everything in between. And in the middle of that is your canvas. So again, your white, digital equivalent of paper, and then around that is the document window where you can see what you're working on. Over to the left is your tools panel. So this is generally where all the tools that you're going to want to use will be. So we'll explore those a little bit more in just a second. On the right generally are your other panels, and one of the ones that we'll be using most often is the layers panel. So that's this one right here. You can always explore what other panel options there are by going to Window, and then you'll see there's a huge list of options. These are all different panels you can pull up and different things you can control in the program. So just know, like, if I, again, get rid of my layers panel on accident, I can either reset essentials, or I can go to Window layers, and that will bring my layers panel back up and I can just pop it back in there.